within that time, the whole the management programs are being organized, and we all witnessed the convention, very important activity of KMA. The annual management convention has conducted very well, and it has been chaired by our Vice President Sri Balakrishnan, and it has been very successfully completed. So I am welcoming President just for the formality for the function. RGS Chandy is another dynamic personality who will be driving our management association. RGS, I am welcoming you to this function. I am extending a welcome to all of the gathering here, past presidents and management committee members and all other management experts. Welcome you for this function. So my second responsibility is to introduce our chief guest. I'm very much worried how I introduce our Honorable Justice to you, because each and everybody knows his everyday's activities, because so much involved in the civic activities by Justice. But however, as a matter of formality, I'm introducing sir, but it is very, very limited words I have to say, because so many things I have to tell about you after studying about you. From potholes to flux boards, this Kerala High Court judge stands on public issues, is making news. This is a report given by Week magazine few months ago. And another report I read from some of the newspaper is that Justice has stated to a young lawyer to address him as sir instead of her address as my lord or your lordship, which was the colonial way of addressing during the court proceedings, a young woman lawyer. And the justice who has been recognized as newsmaker of 2019 for his judgment that impacted public life by the Times of India, I think so. Yeah, I'm sorry, the Express. The advocate who has been credited to be the first only father and son designated as the senior advocate of High Court of Kerala. I think that record is not been broken by anybody. That is what. The justice who is always concerned about the protection of environment, ecology, and the nature. Sri Devan completed his schooling from Bhavan's Elamakara, so teachers are here, and pre-degree from Secretariat College, Devara, and law degree from Law College, Ernakulam in 1991 with rank. Started his practicing as advocate since 1991 under the guidance of his father, senior advocate Sri M.B.R. Nair, who was barrister in law from Middle Temple, London. He practiced in various modern branches of law, including corporate, company, institutional matters, etc. High Court has engaged him as its advocate or counsel, who was just in 35 years old, the youngest advocate till that time in that position. I served as a standing counsel of CBSE, various private and public firms, banking and financial institutions. He has become senior advocate in 2015. High Court appointed him as amicus curiae, the friend of court, in suo motu public interest litigation pertaining to the illegal trafficking of children from North India. And he has taken over charge as the judge of High Court in 2016. And so many notable cases are there. And one is that declared the use of disrespected words of police like Eda, Ni, Podi, etc. has been made as unconstitutional words to the Kerala police. So that based on that, Chief of Police has issued a circular also not to use these type of words, and declared Nokuhuli as an illegal, which makes the Kerala as a investor-friendly state. And judgment on controlling the cost of COVID treatment in private hospitals. We have seen this is a very notable judgment during the COVID treatment. The hospitals are charging left and right like that. He has put a control over that. What will be the price mark? Even when I was in airport, that is affected. Even airport, because that the COVID checking fees also has been decided on that. Then the judgment on the bad conditions of road, then judgment on sprinkler case, and so moto case against KSEB on electrocution of a pedestrian from who was trapped on the overhead line. Judgment against the flex boards, and important judgment about another important judgment is that about the cabinet confidentiality and cabinet solidarity, when the minister itself file a case against the government of Kerala. So that she has been very well defined what is this, and taken the judgment according to that. And judgment of upholding independence of universities and held that they are not subservient to the government. So these are very, very important. And last the judgment, I think we have read out around 2 months back or something like that. The women's gate, the hostel gate closing issue. Then he asked them, will mountain will collapse if we get this closed like that. But these are very few. I think everybody knows that. And what are the judgment he has done, and what are the views on legal views he has taken. So I think we are very, very lucky today to the evening, and to get to listen to his words. Thank you, sir. I'm presenting you this eminent personality to you as the chief guest of this occasion for the memorial lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ethik. I think looking at the audience, all are blushing, and the teachers are looking so proud at that. There's the seat, so they are indeed privileged and honored, sir. Thank you so much for your presence. Chief guest of the day, Honorable Justice Mr. Devan Ramachandran, our Guru, Sri Venugopal Govind, Mr. A.C. Nair, Mr. Ajis Khalid, managing committee members. We have lots of past presidents today, managing KMA members, invited guests, students, and I must say that this is a hybrid meeting because the first floor is full of students. Yeah. Projectors are like this. They are watching from there. I'm sorry that we could not accommodate them here. The hall is chock-a-block. It shows the chief guest. Okay, thank you so much, and once again, hearty welcome to each and every one of you. This is the third and last memorial lecture series for the current KMA year. Thank you and congratulations, Chairman Memorial Lecture and Kerala State Electricity Ombudsman, and he was a former director of CR, Mr. A.C. Nair, for organizing memorial lecture with brilliant speakers for the lectures, as well as remembering the late visionaries, late M.K. Nair, late Dr. M.U. Paidi, and now it is late K.T. Chandy. K.T. Chandy was an Indian management education administrator and business executive. He was the founder director of Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. That is the first Indian Institute of Management. The day, that is all about, I'm saying, because our Venugopal Govind sir will be talking about K.T. Chandy. And I must say this, the day I step into KMA office, the very first call I received from a person whom I respect, a real guru. I look up to him. Whenever I need advice, he was always there. One of our new initiatives of C2C, that is Campus to Corporate, was inaugurated by him. Yes, I'm talking about Mr. Venugopal Govind, Senior Chartered Accountant, and was the former Senior Managing Partner of Mrs. Varma and Varma Chartered Accountants. He is now on the boards of governors and academic councils, and adjunct professor of various management institutes, engineering, professional colleges in India. He is also the chairman of Bharati Vidya Bhavan Kochi, Kendra and Senior Trustee of Chinmaya Mission Educational and Cultural Trust. It is always a pleasure in listening to you, sir. Thank you so much for accepting our request to remember KT Chandy on this day. Our chairman has already introduced our chief guest, and that itself was a speech, and we can a lot of things that we can learn from that introduction itself. We are indeed privileged and honored to listen to Honorable Justice Mr. Devan Ramachandran on topic ethics and probity in management and governance. Most relevant topic for management institutions and organizations. I must thank Advocate Sandhya. I think she is not in today. She is helped me in getting sir, and I must thank her. Governance is the job of the governing body, such as committee or board, to provide direction, leadership, and control management. Is typically the job of management or executive team. Ethical management is about how individual managers behave with integrity, how they set a personal example, and how they treat others both within and outside their own organizations. Probity in governance is democracy, advocates the principles of equality before law and respect for the rights and duties of leaders towards their citizens. It is a shared belief that the adoption of standards like accountability, transparency, and responsiveness will lead to clean and efficient governance. However, standards do not by themselves ensure ethical behavior, which requires a robust culture of integrity and probity in public life. The crux of ethical behavior does not lie only in standards, but in their adoption, in action, and in issuing sanctions against their violation. We have the pride of Kerala, pride of Bhavan School, Honorable Justice Mr. Devan Ramachandran to deal with the topic. Before I invite the Honorable Justice, let me invite Mr. Venugopal Sikovil to remember the great personality, late KT Chandy.
Good evening to all of you. Honorable Justice Devan Ramachandran, Madam President Narmada, Sri A.C.K. Nair, my friend, Sri L.G.S. Khalid, all distinguished members of the Kerala Management Association. We are really honored to have a person like Mr. Devan Ramachandran, who, with his words of wisdom, his knowledge, his experience, expertise, and his outspokenness, forthrightness, and all that, electrifies any audience and gives some very valuable views of his, which we always cherish and remember for a long, long time. Thank you, sir, for being so good to be with us today and for having agreed to share your views with us. Today we are remembering a great soul. Many great people have lived in this world. So what makes a person truly a great human? It is not how he brought up his own institutions, how he succeeded in his life, how he amassed his wealth, or what kind of institution he has built up, and even what contributions he would have made to society at large. But what was the kind of life, he lived as a human, what qualities he had, what were his values, the human traits which he cherished, and how he was a model. He directed a path for everyone to follow and emulate and all that. What he has given finally unto the world, to the society. So if you look at from all these angles, Professor KT Chandy was a very unique person. You have met several business, industry, trade, commerce. You come across large number of leaders. You have people like J.R.D. Tata and Nepal Kiwala, old timers like us. We remember that Harish Mahindra. Many stalwarts in industry. Even those who have built up business, warehouses and all, and even professionals you find very outstanding people like Ratan Tata, who had his own individual empire to build up. Though Prakash Tandon was chairman, the first chairman of the Hindustan Lever in India, and Deepak Parekh of HDFC, A.V. Kamath, such people, N.R. Narayanamurthy, they are all men of eminence. Probably, you see, K.T. Chandy belongs to that kind of a group and much, much more than. The very first impression, if you see Chandy, I don't know how many of you would have seen him personally, straight, tall, very, very impressive personality, man of measured words, speak only to the occasion, to the point, anywhere, in whatever may be the occasion, and in just, such chase Queen's English. So it's a pleasure to listen to him always. Used to be like that. And he always, even if it's 1 minute address or a 3 minute address or a 20 minutes address, he makes a point very candidly, very forcefully. And you can never forget what he says. Always on the right path. He will never observe his mood, whatever may be the situations when he is in, he will never lose his balance, absolute equilibrium, equanimity, equipoise, gentleness, calmness, and all that you'll always see. That was the kind of personality that he was. If you look at his career growth, you find, by profession, this is it's a surprising matter. He is such a business leader, known an educationist of great eminence, who became director of the Lever Brothers in UK at the age of 43, who became the chairman of Hindustan Lever in India at the age of 53, who became the first director of the Indian Institute of Management, first ever institute to found such high quality institute in India, again at the age of 52, 53. Around that time, all in his mid-50s, who became chairman of the Food Corporation of India, who became chairman of the Hindustan Steels Limited, and such things. You see, who was in the Planning Commission of India, who was in the National Productivity Council, who was in the Board of Governors of the Indian Institute of Technology, Chennai, who was in the National Center for Forest Research Institute of India, so many, who was in the Board of Governors of the Asian Productivity Organization. His reach, you see, so much. And in every aspect where, he has every professional activity he has involved in, he has been hugely successful. There has been no two opinions, about that. The surprising aspect of this, he belongs to your profession. Much long after I came to know about it. Graduated in economics from Madras Christian College and took his law degree from Bombay University. First rank, and got a scholarship and went to UK and did his master's in law, LLM from London School of Economics, and then he entered as a Barakla at the Middle Temple, where my friend Justice Father Barrister Nair was also there. So that was law was his first love and first priority. Is always to tell me that. But having been in London economics, he got to the objective of wanting to do something in the field of industrial economics, social behavior, behavioral economics, and things like that. So he took to industry. He was served in many 15, 20 years. He served in several companies in UK, and as I said, at a very young age, became the director of Lever Brothers. In that capacity, he was sent to India to found the Hindustan Lever Limited, and he was one of the most important founders of the Hindustan Lever Limited. And later on, he was sent by Lever Brothers as chairman of the Hindustan Lever, and then he settled down in India thereafter. It was when he was chairman of the Hindustan Lever that the government of India asked him to take the initiative to set up 2 institutes of management in India. Jawaharlal Nehru's vision that we must have a higher education institute in the lines of Massachusetts Institute of Technology or Harvard Business School and all that. So K.T. Chandy was initiated and asked to do that. He took the initiative. He said, I will concentrate on one, I will help in formation of the other. And both he worked together. And Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, as you know, we have all been there, some of us. 1961 that was founded. Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad was also founded in 1961. And he was into both of them. And through his contacts, Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta had the support from Ford Foundation. Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad also had the support of Ford Foundation. And Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta had the collaboration with MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Sloan Institute of Management, very, very, profoundly great management institution in the world then. And Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad had the collaboration of Harvard Business Schools. So that is the reason for excellence of these 2 institutes. In those capacities, he was an educationist par excellence. I should say he's the father, as was rightly referred to, management education in India. Some of us have been, very fortunate to be trained, and we'll come to that very soon. But having worked in such positions with eminence and success, he wanted to contribute to the government of India. So the government picked him up and they put him in the central planning board as an advisor to that and gave him the responsibility to handle the population policy of India. So he was first asked to the government to help all the mobilization of the citizens and the industries and everyone to achieve some kind of a control in our exponential population growth. And that was his first initiative in India. And thereafter, then he became chairman of the Food Corporation of India. We had interacted with him at that time as auditor on the one side, as chairman on the other side. So I knew impeccable, integrity, value systems and all. I can never forget the time that we had at that point of time. Then as Hindustan Steel's chairman also, he was hugely successful. Our contact with him is, as some of you know, MKK Nair was responsible for reviving Kerala Management Association. It was formed in 1957, but it was dead. So mid-60s or so, he pulled some of us, including Paul Totten of KFACT and Dr. M.B. Filey. Some of us we gathered and said we had to revive KMA. So we were given the responsibility to revive KMA, work on that, and we did some little things. And we are also asked to form Kerala State Productivity Council. We worked on that. And he formed us into a management group, asked us to go to several companies and hold management seminars, workshops and all that. So we used to go in group as directed by MKK to all these companies and do that. But then MKK found out that the quality, we do all that, Dr. Piley himself, Dr. Piley, myself and all, he said, quality is not enough. This is not how you people to handle management education. So he said, I will bring, if Mohammed cannot go to the mountain, I will bring mountain here. We didn't understand what it was. So 1967, he brought a full team of 5 senior professors from the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. That was the best institute. That was headed by Professor K.T. Chandy. Professor K.T. Chandy, Professor T.R. Raman, and Professor Sen Gupta, then Professor Peter Samuelson, and Professor Jagadish Seth. 5 eminent professors from Indian Institute of Calcutta was brought in, and he conducted a 6 weeks residential executive training development for all of us. In FACT Udyog Mandal, starting from 7:30 breakfast to 7:30 evening, with KT Chandy himself taking the classes and all. So 6 weeks, we got all the benefits of the training from IIM Calcutta, and the rest is history. All those who underwent that course, we got to know about management education. That only we knew the personality, the power of personality of KT Chandy. Because he's a lawyer, the profession also, he used to handle constitution and business, government and business laws and regulations and business. Beautiful. I certainly imagine the way with clarity, absolute clarity and all that he used to handle that. It became okay. That's one part of that. Much later after that, we came into contact again when I was in the Associated Chambers of Commerce as president of the Cochin Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Height of emergency. 1975-76, the whole business, they were not able to utter a single word around Indira Gandhi. So Assistant decided to invite Indira Gandhi for a conference. So J.R.B. Tata, K.T. Chandy, and Nani Kulkiwala, they were all inducted to take various sessions. 2 of us also had the good fortune to speak in front of Indira Gandhi. When Lakshmana Swami Mudaliar, president of the Calcutta Chamber of Commerce, he was to talk about the problems of manufacturing industry in India, called the production of producing industries. And I was asked to talk for about 8 minutes for the problems of agro-based industries and the traditional industries in India. And we were supported by K.T. Chandy how we should present an order before Indira Gandhi during emergency time. And then K.T. Chandy made a speech before that completely transformed her own ideas about business, how businessmen should not be curtailed, even during emergency time for the economic growth of the nation. That was the second opportunity where I knew what kind of a person he was, how he was able to talk so boldly. J.R.B. Tata had talked earlier for 20 minutes. He was not as bold as K.T. Chandy. So that's the kind of, his vision was. Then after that, fortunately for all of us, when he was around 60 years or so, he decided to come to Kerala. Kerala government wanted to invite him here, so he came here as chairman of the Kerala State Industrial Development Corporation. 6 years, 1972 to 1978. He was KSATC chairman. This is a golden period for all of us. We are all working for industry professionally. I was connected with most of the industries here. So when 6 years with him, every industry was chairman of all the important Kerala government companies. You name it. As KSAT chairman, he was also chairman of the Kerala government companies, and he gave a direction. a trust. That is the best period for Kerala industries. Because MKK had already left it. At 71, MKK left Kerala, there was a void. That void was so beautifully filled by K.T. Chandy. So that was K.T. Chandy was 1978. He retired from KSIDC and he went to Bombay for some time. Okay. He was not to be seen in public life much after that. Later on, for me, I cannot forget, KMA is responsible. In the year Millennium Year 2000, KMA announced the Management Leadership Award. Rightly or wrongly, they had chosen me to receive the Management Leadership Award. So the chairman wrote to them, the president wrote to them, said, we are going to give the honor to Venugopal Sikod. So would you like to please come? He was in Kottayam at that time. Can you come and give away the, to give award to Venu? I will certainly come. And he was here. Right in the platform, you see, in KMA, he gave the award. And then, you see, the award he gave, but 25 minutes he spoke about his life, his experiences. You see, what India can achieve, the potential of India, where it should have been, and why we are lagging behind so much. There is nothing that the country, lacks actually, only the willpower. And he spoke about the role of management associations, and I don't know whether any of you were there at that time, what management association has to do, how we are going to gear up, people activize, energize people to go into action. All that at that age, he must have been about probably 85, 86 at that time. He was not even able to stand, but he came on the stage, no, I'll speak. And he honored me and all that. So I started, took his blessings and all that. That was the last when I saw Professor K.T. Chandy in 2000. He passed away in 2006, 6 years later. 1 year he was too well. He was a contemporary of N.A. Palkiwala. He was 6 years, once he told me, he's 6 years older than Palkiwala. And they were in close touch with many things. They used to think alike. They used to express alike. That kind of people are not available in this kind of. So we had a lot to learn for his contribution. So I'm very happy to be with all of you to remember a little bit about this great soul of India. Let us all join together in paying our homage to the great person that Professor K.T. Chandy was. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I checked that time. This is not enough. Even one day we can visit you. They're so interesting. All details at tip of your tongue, and it's just flowing like water. It's nice, very interesting to listen to you. The Chandy may have gone from among us, but definitely never from our hearts. And thank you so much for helping us to remember the achievement of great leader K.T. Chandy. Now, may I request Honorable Justice Devan.
Good evening. Totally scared. 3 of my teachers. Great pleasure to be here. Ms. Nair, thank you for all the lies you spoke about me. President Nirmala, what a privilege for me to see that you are the only woman there. And lovely to know that she's a mother of a top lawyer also. Terry is a very dear friend. So, great pleasure to meet you. 3 of my teachers are here. Yes, they are very intently watching. But they had no idea when you spoke about me like this. They know me only as a naughty boy. And I believe they still believe that I'm very naughty now with all what I'm doing and what the public says about me. I was looking very carefully at this and everywhere else because I was certain, Venugopal Sigovan sir, that you were speaking from a screen. Now I have to just find where that was. You have hidden it somewhere. I'm looking very intently. Teleprompter. You got it somewhere here. What a wonderful tribute you could have given to anybody. He is right. I never had the privilege, pleasure, or honor of meeting Professor Chandy. But now I believe and I feel that I have known him all my life. That's the kind of profile that you have presented before us. I did not know that I was asked to speak on a particular topic, but hearing Mr. Govind on Professor Chandy, he exemplifies everything that you want to listen from anybody on this topic today. He talked about being equipoised with equanimity, calm composure. These are the hallmarks of a true leader. I remember when we were in college, I think you will remember, Professor Marcus used to take classes on evidence and cross-examination, examination, all that. So he used to tell us, it's very easy to crack a person who is very, very excitable. So if you want to cross-examine a person who is very excitable, very exuberant, it is some leading questions and he's like, but then he used to always say, be very calm, very, very careful of that calm and composed witness that you get on the box. I wonder if Professor Chandy had been on the box, lawyers would have run. Though I have not done much of cross-examination in my life, but I remember the words of Professor Marcus. He's been a great, great teacher. So that's one reason why I feel absolutely privileged today, because we are speaking in the memory of a great teacher also. So before I forget, I must acknowledge those who are sitting either on the floor below or above. Where are they? On the floor below. So I must acknowledge that also, because I would have loved to talk to the students more than anybody else these days. Now, Madam Nirmala was very eloquent when she talked about ethics and probity. I think all of us know the basic principles that fall into these categorizations. And we would possibly hear this with a very straight face, very clinically, and forget about it later on. Is it not really something that we must talk about? We must think about that. We still talk about these principles after so many years that we have got independence. Really, you're all leaders of management. I'm glad that my teachers are also leaders in management, which I'm lacking now. But then when it comes to principles of probity and ethics, I think it applies to everybody. It is not merely to managers or to management professionals. It applies to everybody. It's something which should be the guiding foreline of any society, for that matter. Can you imagine a society which does not believe in ethics or probity? Just imagine a country which is lacking in probity and ethics, but in everything else. That society, community, or the country can never go anywhere. And as I've always been saying, Constitution of India, you've all heard of that, of course, is the highest law of our land. We have fundamental rights given to us under Part 3 of the Constitution. But rarely do we talk about fundamental duties that are cast upon us like an iron shield under Article 51, capital A. And I am speaking about this because Subarticle J of Article 51, capital A talks about something very, very wonderful and fundamental. It says every Indian has an obligation to be excellent, because if every citizen is excellent, the nation becomes excellent. How can a country be excellent without one of the most fundamental principles that govern us, the principles of ethics and the principles of probity? Somewhere along the line, as we have move on, I don't know, we get the impression that sometimes honesty, rectitude, integrity, these are all words which are old-fashioned. But are they really? And if we give the impression to the next generation, those students who are sitting in the first floor today, that these are not very relevant words, these are not very important. What is important is how you assume success. If that is the impression that you give the children today, And tragically, that is what is being done also, whether we do it deliberately or otherwise. The tragedy is sometimes, and I see this on the bench, sitting on the bench. I spoke about it today, in fact. I had no reflection on what is happening now, but then I spoke about it today also. Suppose we teach our children, the next generation, that no matter what, success is important. Do whatever you want, get success. Then you are speaking without an iota of knowledge about the word success. That is not success. It can never be success. So when the students are told that the end is more important than the means, because when we grew up, we were all told, my teachers also told us then, we were young, of the impressionable age, that the means justify the end. Somewhere, I do not know why and how, over the time, over the decades that we have grown up, at least substantial portion of the people have now began to think that the end justifies the means. This is why we are asked to again speak on the most cherished principles of ethics and probity. Now, when we talk about probity in governance, I'm saying as a citizen, we are talking about our government or any other government of the world. Please understand how it works. We are talking about a democracy, and India, by far, is the most populous country in the world now. Maybe statistically and officially, we have not declared so. But I understand that we are pushing 1.3 billion and we are reaching 1.4 billion. So we are the most populous country in the world, and we are the most magnificent democracy ever in this planet. So when we are now leading the world in terms of numbers and of excellence, we have to understand that our ethics are bedrocked on certain very fundamental principles that we have always found to be sacrosanct and inalienable. Somewhere as we move along, we tend to find it taken for granted, and therefore we don't really talk about it or think about it, and we go on with our lives as if they don't really matter anymore. But as management gurus will tell you, at least in the context of management, they possibly tell you that one of the most important of the 7 pillars of management or ethics and probity is selflessness. This is a very wonderful concept that I always think about. When we are in public life, I am personally a public servant now. When we are in public life, we take certain things for granted and we believe that we were entitled to the positions that we are holding. I'm speaking this as a general Indian concept these days. Perhaps it is now widely into the other parts of the world also. So if I occupy a position, I must understand that I'm occupying it under trust of the people. I have no other justification for keeping that post or occupying the position. I am under the trust of the people. I'm governed by the trust of the people, and therefore I'm expected to be selfless in what I do. This is why in the management parlance, selflessness is one of the most guiding principles that anybody will tell you. Apart from the 6 others, I will reflect upon it very peripherally as I go along. So what do we see in the world these days, particularly in our country these days? Is there anybody in governance who really feel that they were chosen by us to work for us and therefore that they are our servants? Let us ask ourselves very, very, very honestly, because honesty is also one of the guiding principles of ethics. Let us be honest to ourselves. Now, the word used is chosen, elected, and then placed in office. But then what really now happens is that that choice, that election is completely manipulated and rigged in such a manner that certain results are then able to be obtained. I'm not taking this generalized, I'm saying in at least in some cases. Therefore, the people who come into power, they have that sense of being entitled. There is no sense of selflessness. It is more selfishness. It is not a play of words, it's a play of concepts. So when you take an office, forgetting the concepts of selflessness, without understanding that what you are now expected to do is under the trust of the larger population, who are the sovereign. Because our constitution starts by saying, we the people of India have resolved to constitute ourselves into a sovereign secular democracy. That's the most important word, is sovereign. And when we are a republic and a sovereign, Every individual of this nation is the sovereign. We are the kings. There is nobody else higher than each of the citizens, whether he be living in a palatial bungalow or on the streets as a homeless person. Every one of them are equal. This is the constitutional leitmotif, which I believe we have all forgotten. We tend to believe that there are classes and divisions amongst us. We genuflect before people whom we believe are more powerful. That's because you don't understand that the persons we select and choose and send up are really our servants. They are the people who are expected to work for us. And this axiomatically, unfortunately, leads to a situation where that person forgets what he is expected to do. And then he acts in a manner where this concept of selflessness evaporates and it becomes a chimera, only to be spoken in conferences like this or to be written in pages which are hardly read and understood. So the first and fundamental of the concept of ethics and probity is selflessness. We have to tell our children that it is not a bad word or it is not an old-fashioned word. This is the need of the hour, where we act without malice, without fear of favor. We don't act for ourselves. The moment you get a public office, the first thing that you do is ensure that your life is set, your family is taken care of. This is what we are now seeing in public life. And it goes for me also. I am not a saint. I'm saying this is what we are now seeing, and this is what we should be wary of. If India is to reach its legitimate position of being at the top, we are already there, 4 or 5 around the world, but then we should be there 1 or 2 already. The second of the concepts that normally, I'm sure Mr. Venugopal Govind and all those teachers would have told you also, is a concept of objectivity, where you act solely on the principles of merit. You act not subjectively, which means, for example, as a judge, we are not expected to hear cases on which we have any interest on. But believe me, if you believe that, if you accept that a judge is elevated, that's a word used. I'm not a votary of that word. I'm just saying that is the way it is normally done. When a lawyer is made a judge, he says, the papers will scream saying that so-and-so has been elevated. Elevation is not in position. Elevation is in the way you think. It's in your notions and your concepts and your perspective. And if you're really elevated, if you are chosen to take a particular office, and a constitutional one like the one I'm presently holding, please understand that this is not because I'm the best or anything. It is just because I'm chosen for a wide variety of reasons, which would be, one would be the destiny and the serendipity that I'm favored with. So when you're chosen for that office, and when you take that office, you must understand that your first and foremost duty is to act objectively, without any fear or favor, and that is one of our oaths that's also we take. One of the components of the oath that I take. How many of us remember this? The moment you get an office, you become a manager, you become a person of position, you become a person of influence. What do? You take care of yourself, and you call that success. Hardly a success. Absolutely not a success. Please understand, people are watching us. Everybody knows what we are doing. So objectivity is something which is absolutely important. And then the 2 words that everybody takes, honesty and integrity. We normally take it synonymously, but then honesty is something that is more subjective and integrity is something that is more objective. When you take a decision, you take it without any care for yourself is integrity. And when you deal with it in a manner that you're expected to do as a trustee of the power of the people, you do it with honesty. The third, the fourth, of course, fourth or fifth, whatever, fourth, I believe, would be transparency. I'm sure that all the managers like that word, transparency. It is the least used concept, but the most widely used word. This is very, very interesting because there are some things that we say and there are other things that we hold very dear to us. Now, I always say this. I was speaking at the Kochi Biennale very recently, and that concept was about dowry. And I said this. I said, I don't know who said this is Bernard Shaw. I'm not sure. I may be wrong in that. No, Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, the inimitable Mark Twain. He was talking about the titles in a different context, titles and heredities. He said, we adore titles in our heart, and abuse it with our minds and with our tongues. And he said that is democratic privilege. It's the same thing here. We talk about transparency, but the more higher you climb, your tendency to wrap that transparency within a sheet of metal is very, very high. So transparency is something that is spoken about, but very rarely put into practice. But then if you want to talk about probity and ethics in management or governance, one of the most important things is openness and transparency. These are two different things. Transparency is not really openness and openness is not transparency, but without them, they don't go together. So these are the basic cornerstones of probity or ethics that you normally talk about. There may be others. I maybe I have not really picked up all of them. But then the last of it, which I'm absolutely passionate about, is leadership. But this goes with every citizen, actually speaking. Now, what really is leadership? Is it that you lead and therefore you become better? No. Leadership is when you are able to lead and make everyone else reach the pinnacles of excellence that they are capable of. It is not that I do well and therefore I lead well, or that I lead well and therefore I do well. No. Just take a situation where we have a prime minister or a chief minister of the nation or the state, as the case may be, who is absolutely excellent, but with a team which cannot match up to it, who cannot hold a candle to him. The whole concept collapses, the whole system collapses. There is hardly any governance worth noting in that case. So a leader is a person who is able to lead everyone to the highest levels of excellence. And there again, we go back to the first concept of selflessness. Just imagine how the circle of life goes. So when you lead and you understand that you are here to lead, not because you are entitled to lead, but because you are expected and chosen to do so, then you understand that my obligation to my fellow who is in part of my team, however small or big that may be, that is now the most inviolable. And if you are able to recognize that and lead the team as a selfless leader, you become the biggest and the most respected one among all, for all times. Now, interestingly, hearing Sri Venugopal C. Govind about Professor K.T. Chandy, this is exactly what I understood. He is a man who could really bring out the best. He could find, locate, and then nurture the finest elements of a person whom he is in charge of. I'm sure that Mr. Govind will also have the opportunity of learning from him, living from him, and then being led by him. This is the hallmark of a good leader. Now, talking about ethics and probity, I can go on for some more time, but then I don't want to do that because I already am surprised with your absolutely, your absolute patience. I don't want to test that any further. But then I must tell you that what we are now trying to speak today, not particularly what I have spoken, is the need of the hour. I spoke about children leaving Kerala in the court today in a different context altogether. Perhaps the papers will carry it tomorrow, because everything that you say there, the press carries these days. I did not say that in part of the context of a case or anything. I spoke it from the annals of my heart because of the deep sense of anguish that I see with all the children, all the youngsters moving away. It's a great sense of anguish for me, particularly when they go away from a state as beautiful and as so livable as Kerala. I dare say, I'm a true blue Kochiite, but then I dare say that there is no state, perhaps in the world, or no place in the world, which is so beautiful and so livable than our own little Kerala. So what we really require is to inspire our youngsters. It is not merely to teach them. I don't think it's possible to teach anybody beyond a particular limit, but you can inspire them. You are the leaders of the management, the sphere, the realm. It is for you to now. You have all reached wherever you wanted to reach. You are already there. It is now for you to give back. And that happens when you are able to inspire the next generation. I'm not saying this because the teachers are here. We are here. I am here only because of the inspiration they gave me. And this is not an exaggeration. I said this when I went to the school also. I said, if you want to see what a good school can do to somebody, just watch me. This is what I said. I don't take credit for anything. These were the lovely mothers who took care of us, nurtured us. And that inspiration that you get when you are in your formative years is very, very important. That feeling of despondency that I see in the new generation these days, where they say there is nothing here, what can we do here? And then what do? You try to take wings and fly away. Where do you go? You go to other countries, stay there as, not really the primary citizen. But you are okay with that because you think, Akarapacha, whatever is on the other side is more. So therefore, we require to nurture them and to inspire them. But most importantly, and I'll stop with this, it is actually a fact that Kerala is not able to offer what we should be offering to the next generation. This is a fact. This may not be something that you would like to hear. It may not be even politically correct for me to say this. But then some things have to be said, because when to speak is the law, silence becomes a crime. So we have to now think, you are the Kerala Management Association. You are by far the most influential and most powerful of the people that live in the state. It is now for you. It is not merely, don't be content by listening to lectures like mine, which is worthless and verbose. But then be ready to take up a larger, opportunity in life, a larger role in life. We stand together, we can make wonders. It is not merely for you or your community or your company or the firm or the entity that you work for or you lead. We have to now start leading the country itself, at least the state, at least at the first instance. So this is possibly why I took this opportunity to come here. The moment I was invited, I thought I can talk to the leaders of the business community, of the management community, and remind yourself that there is something in what everybody says. There is something in Kerala that we are not able to offer to our next generation. Let's think about it. Let's think about it, reflect upon it. This is not a recrimination. This is not a complaint. But I'm saying unless we pull up our pants and understand what we are losing today, in about 5-10 years, it would be just 50 plus and 60 plus living here, nobody else. It is now time for us to think, reflect, and pull up our socks. Thank you for the time. And thank you for exceptional patience, and I mean it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. It is great listening to you, and there are a lot of things that we learned from you. So next, you said inspire next generation. You have already inspired all of us. What a scintillating speech it was. I'm sure that there are a lot of questions that everybody has got. Can we take few questions?
Not from my teachers.
Some of the students are here.
I have a question. Sir, thank you for your wonderful speech. The first time listening to a justice.
You for saying it is wonderful.
So my question is, very often we read.
Sir, please.
Oh, no, I'm comfortable standing. Very often we read. Yeah, very often we read in papers that the judgment given by a judge is superseded, and just the opposite is given by a higher court, the higher judge. When that happens, how does the judge process this internally?
It's really a trick of the trade, but then you see, one thing I'll tell you, I was a lawyer for 25.5 years before I was asked to do this job. We know how the system works. No human being is infallible, and we are fully aware of that. So I never ever take it that my judgments are correct. It requires to be tested, and that is the strength of our system. And we have multiple appeals provided. For example, we have a single bench where I'm now sitting. There's a division bench which is headed by, which has 2 judges, and then we have also the Supreme Court under the special leave petitions. Now, generally, when you write something, it's not me alone, sir. Even if you write something, you tend to believe that that is always right, but there would be a different perspective. And please understand that we work under a lot of pressure also. For example, today, I have completed my board of over 170 matters. I have no guarantee that I've delivered all correct judgments in all the 20 or 30 matters I've delivered. So I welcome an appellate jurisdiction, and it is always better because in appeal, because I have also sat in division benches, and I have also heard appeals. I have also upturned judgments of single benches. So it's a continuous, it's a cycle. It doesn't really matter. There is no pecking order. Just because my judgment is set aside doesn't mean I am wrong. It just means that there is a different perspective, and we take it in that sense.
here as well.
Oh.
There.
The management students.
Very good evening, sir. I am Sheetal. I am a recently passed out advocate.
Ah.
I'm a management student from School of Management Studies, Cochin University. Being a recently passed out advocate, I was thinking when we move on into the field of management, what we are required to take decisions that involve both legal as well as ethical aspects. So at times, it's the case that we have to also listen to our hearts. So as I'm stepping into the field of management, I would like to know from an eminent person like you in the field of law that when a dilemma occurs or a problem occurs wherein we have to think both legally as well as ethically, wherein sometimes the ethical things may not match the legal things. Of course, legal things are very important and they need to be abided by, but then what would we follow or what should we consider when such a dilemma occurs?
Advocate Sheetal, right?
Yes.
I just want to tell you one thing. I mean, this is something which many persons who do not know the system always ask. There is no law without ethics. Though there may be ethics without law. But there can be no law without ethics. And all our legal systems are embedded on very specific principles of ethics. So, Sheetal, I don't think there will be any trouble at all, unless your ethics want to overrule the ethics of the country and the ethics of the law. Otherwise, there won't be a problem at all. You're right. Sometimes there could be a dilemma where I can take a very soft approach because it helps me. And I can be always aware that an approach that I take may put me in a better of a pressing position. But that is why perhaps I'm speaking from the position of a judge of the High Court, which is pretty well protected. But then we are expected to act without fear or favor, which means you act as per the constitutional imperatives. And therefore, I never had a problem between ethics and law. I always follow the ethics, and then I'm sure the law follows.
Can I ask you an information in the legal process?
Sir.
So you are telling about transparency.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Transparency is fine. But the same court says we are only bothered with the procedural correction. For example, a girl gets 258 rank in PhD. The same girl gets first rank in university. But that is the interview. You don't interfere. Do you think it is transparency? You see, a procedure is okay. So the selection is okay. But there was not transparency. What do you say?
And what you've asked me is the fundamental principle of administrative law. The most fundamental principle is that judges don't interfere with the decision, but the decision-making process. In other words, if we follow, we understand, when we evaluate the case, and we understand that the decision-making process is good, we don't really interfere with the decision. I'll tell you why. Every individual may take a different decision with the same set of inputs that you get. You may take a particular decision, I may take another decision. It depends on the perspective that you hold. But then, to eliminate that concept of capriciousness or nepotism, we have put in place certain specified rules in the manner in which you are expected to work. And if you are able to show me that you worked in those manners, then I respect your decision, because your decision is more subjective and rather than objective. Only in the administrative law. But this, we are not protected that way. Our decisions are also upheld. I'm just answering what sir asked me.
Any more questions? No more questions. So it's indeed great listening to both speakers today, and I'm sure that nobody will ever forget this special day. A lot of things that we can always remember. Thank you so much, sir. And as a token of appreciation, and may I request Mr. Joseph, sir, he is our past president, to hand over a moment to our
Really? Okay. I'm not losing my thought.
So we should find this in your.
No, it's in your office. Obviously, I'm not, I'll be on the side. But
You didn't mention anything about your father.
I do that all. My father, I'm sitting in his lap now. I need it really.
Now I invite our past president, Mr. Nabesa, to hand over a moment to our Mr. Veeraval Sikowitz.
Oh, I see.
One more ceremony here. All India Management Association, AIMA, is the national apex body of management professional in India. KMA is a founding member of AIMA. Every year, AIMA celebrate Management Day on 22nd February. We celebrate Management Week in connection with this. We have organized a workshop on organizational transformation and business excellence by Mr. Jimmy George, and we were organizing intercollegiate football as well. And we also conducted a quiz program called Quest for Corporates, and as well as college. We have got 10 student chapters. So this held on 20th of this month. I request Honorable Chief Justice to hand over prizes to this winners. Winners of the first winners of two prizes. Prize winners are this time in Quizet, the first and second. The second prize winners, runner-up, Sheetal. Sheetal Hari Govind M and Atul Rag A.
Yes. You enrolled? Got you? Oh, good, good. One or two? Together. She knew it is individual. She said, where are the individuals? So that she looked like even both places. All the best. All the best.
And the winners are Ananda Krishnan P, Ramesh, and Abhijit A.
So my father is also a so we thought that I did from India, father's friend. He's practicing.
Please give my class. MD for finance. And
Corporate quiz winners. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Ajit R.C., Sri Mohan, and Anubhav C.A. They are from GCC Limited. Yes.
All the best. Super. And you are the Sri Mohan and Ajit.
Ajit.
Oh, that's good. All the best.
Thank you so much.
All the very best.
Our winners, Grace Cells, Anil Raghavan and Nanda Kumar. Yes, that's really good. Nanda Kumar hasn't come.
Where are you working?
Okay, so.
You are out. All the very best.
Congratulations to all winners. Well done. One more and one more, but this is different. We have first time ever celebrated 65th Foundation Day. We celebrate on the 18th of November, and we recognized all our past presidents. It was a nice evening we had, and one of our past presidents is here now, Mr. N.R. Pai. He was in USA at that time. So may I request to hand over that also, sir? Just like a surprise, I know.
I get it all the time now. This is for you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Now I invite our Honorary Secretary, Mr. Algiers Khalid, to propose the order.
Distinguished dignitaries on and off the dais, ladies and gentlemen, especially the respected and loved, inspiring teachers present here. I must first congratulate and thank the chairman of the Memorial Lecture Series and also our president for not only selecting the most appropriate, relevant, and important topic in today's context, but also for choosing the right person as a chief guest for this memorial lecture, and the speaker to remember the doyen of the management education, administrator, and the business manager in our country, late Professor K.T. Chandy. Thank you, President Nirmala and Chairman of Memorial Lecture Series, Mr. A.C.K. Nair, for all the arrangements for today's memorial lecture. Friends, we didn't have an iota of doubt on who should address the session today on probity and ethics. There was no second thoughts. The only thing we all did was pray that our Honorable Justice will be free on the 23rd February, and that he would accept our invitation to address us. Hailed as a people's judge, he is great hope for the common man in delivering justice quickly and rightly. On behalf of President and all the 2,000 plus members of KMA, I profusely thank you, sir. Honorable Mr. Justice Devan Ramachandran, from the bottom of my heart for coming here today and conveying the importance of both probity and ethics in our life, followed by a lovely Q&A. We had today a prolific speaker and well known in the management and financial circles of South India, if not in the whole of the country, for his objective views and on various aspects of management, and in fact, a recipient of KMA's prestigious Management Leadership Award to speak about Professor K.T. Chandy with their decade-long association. Mr. Venugopal C. Govind so beautifully articulated the life and times of late Professor K.T. Chandy. Thank you very much, sir. I must especially thank all the past presidents present here, a large number of them, executive committee members, managing committee members, KMA members, for their attending this last memorial lecture session of this KMA year. Now coming to some important announcements on the forthcoming events planned in coming weeks for all of you to mark your calendar. On the 2nd March, with the able leadership of Chairman of Women Managers Forum, Mrs. Lekha Balachandran, we have planned the Women Managers Summit with the theme Parity, Power and Progress. We will have excellent national speakers to keep you fully engaged for the whole day. For inauguration, we will have Kerala's only lady member of Rajya Sabha, Advocate J.B. Methareshan, Ernakulam District Collector, respected Dr. Renu Raj IAS, and to add color and flavor, we will have renowned actor and fashion designer, Ms. Purnima Indrajit. We will have 3 Kerala girls who are currently heading global corporations in their respective fields to address on the event theme Parity by Sandhya Vishal, Power by Deepika Warrior, and Progress by Sushma Srikandar. We'll be honoring 3 women achievers, Mrs. Kamakshi Balachakrishnan, Mrs. Shiny Wilson, and Mrs. Sri Kumari Ramachandran. There will be diverse domain experts to discuss on health and wellness in a panel discussion. Also, an interactive session by image scientist, Dr. Kuljit Uppal, a fireside chat with renowned chef Suresh Pillai and our president. Besides all these, there will be an unconventional story from senior executive of Disney Star. And to keep everyone on the edge of the seats, we will have a Zumba sessions in between the program. So please don't miss it. And to do come and attend this important annual event of KMA. This year, it will be at Gokulam Convention Center. Yes, they say parity, so all both men and women. Lot of efforts have gone into it by the committee, and your presence will definitely be an encouragement for all of us. To culminate the year, and also for the grand finale celebration, we will have the glittering awards ceremony, an awards night function on the 17th of March at the main hall of the Gokulam Convention Center. Various committees are working very hard to select the right deserving recipients for coveted recognitions of Management Leadership Award, IT Leadership Awards, Manager of the Year, KMA Excellent Awards, KMA IT Excellent Awards, Young Manager Contest Awards, and CSR Awards. We look forward to seeing you all on the 2nd as well as on the 17th March. Please do come. We seek your continued support and participation to ensure that the rest of the year is equally memorable before we hand over our activities to a vibrant, active, dynamic, and energetic and most respected management association to the next year's team. Please do come for the next 2 events. Thank you one and all. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.